You know what nobody tells you about being the smart kid? That it might be the exact thing quietly sabotaging your entire adult life right now. If you breezed through school without cracking a book, if tests felt like a joke, if everyone kept saying you were special and destined for big things, then this is for you. Because somewhere between then and now, something broke. You are in your 30s or 40s or maybe older, and you are watching people who struggle back, then build empires while you are still stuck at the starting line. The engine is roaring inside you, but the wheels will not turn. You feel like the brightest person in every room who somehow cannot move forward. That is not random. That is not bad luck. That is psychology. And once you see the pattern, it changes everything. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Your intelligence is not failing to help you succeed. It might actually be the anchor pulling you down. You are not stuck despite being smart. You are stuck because of it. Let me show you why. When you were young, every time you figured something out fast, people celebrated you. They did not praise effort. They praised your brain. So you learned that being smart means things should feel easy. Struggle became a threat. If something required real effort, it felt like proof that maybe you were not so special after all. Psychologists call this a fixed mindset. You started treating your intelligence like a fragile trophy that could shatter if you failed. So you began avoiding anything that might expose you as less than brilliant. Think about it. How many times have you stayed quiet in a meeting because you were not 100% sure of the answer? You would rather stay invisible than risk being wrong. Meanwhile, someone else throws out a half-baked idea, gets corrected, adjusts it, and walks away with the credit. They played the game, you protected your score. The people who struggled in school, they got comfortable with confusion. They learned that feeling stupid is just the price of entry for learning anything worth knowing. They built resilience you never needed. And now that resilience is their superpower, you miss that training because things came too easily. Now, when life demands that you look like a beginner again, your ego cannot handle it. You quit before anyone sees you stumble. Here is the second trap. You overthink everything. Your mind is like a supercomputer running every simulation. You want to start a business? You immediately map out product design, marketing strategy, competitor moves, legal risks, economic downturns, and 12 worst-case scenarios. You think you are being strategic. Really, you are building a prison. Imagine a chess player who can see 10 moves ahead, but never actually moves a piece because they are waiting for the perfect opening. They lose on time. You are losing on time. The clock is ticking in real life, and you are treating it like a practice round. Meanwhile, the people winning? They started before they were ready. They did not know enough to be scared. They made mistakes, looked foolish, and kept walking. You are standing still, building the perfect plan that will never launch. You spend hours researching. You organize files. You refine ideas. It feels like work because your brain is spinning fast, but nothing is actually happening. This is mental theater. It satisfies your need to feel productive without risking anything real. You obsess over the cost of failure, the cost of embarrassment, the cost of doing it wrong, but you never calculate the cost of inaction. What has standing still for 5 years cost you? 10 years? That cost is always higher than the cost of trying and failing. While you are perfecting your logo, someone else already sold 1,000 units with a name they picked in 5 minutes. Smart thinking without action is just expensive daydreaming. Now the third trap, and this one cuts deep. You are addicted to novelty. Because your brain moves fast, you need constant stimulation. When you start something new, learning a language, a workout routine, a side project, the beginning feels electric. You are solving puzzles, you are figuring out systems, your brain lights up. But every single thing worth mastering eventually stops being exciting. It becomes repetition. It becomes boring. It becomes work. That is when you check out. You tell yourself you get it. You could totally finish this if you wanted to, and then you move on to the next shiny thing. You are in love with starting. You hate finishing. Success is not hiding in the new and exciting part. Success is buried in the boring, repetitive work that comes after the thrill fades. That is the secret door to mastery. Because you are smart, you think you are above the grind. You think repetition is for people who did not understand it the first time. But repetition is not about understanding. It is about making the action automatic. You have a huge library of half-read books and unfinished projects. You know a little about everything, but cannot actually do anything with real skill. You are a person who starts a dozen races and finishes none. So, if you see yourself in these traps, the fragile ego, the overthinking paralysis, the novelty addiction. How do you escape? You do not need to become less intelligent. You just need to aim that intelligence in a different direction. First, give yourself permission to enter the full phase. Let yourself be terrible at things. When you start that project, tell yourself out loud, I am going to do this poorly. Detach your self-worth from the outcome. Your goal is not to be a genius. Your goal is to be a student. Be okay with looking dumb in front of others. Remember learning to ride a bike? You wobbled, you fell, you looked ridiculous. But you did not stop because you were not a bike genius yet. You just got back on. You need to be willing to fall again. That is the only path to growth. Second, use the do it badly rule. If overthinking has you frozen, force yourself to take an imperfect action. Write the worst first draft you can imagine. Record a terrible video. Launch a website you hate. Someone who spends weeks researching the perfect workout but never lifts a weight will lose to someone who knows nothing but shows up at the gym and starts moving. 6 months later, the second person is stronger. The first is still reading. You do not need a perfect plan. You need motion. Break the paralysis by making the starting bar so low you cannot possibly fail to start. You cannot steer a parked car. Start moving, then use your brain to correct course. Shorten the loop from idea to real-world result. That is feedback velocity, and yours is way too slow. Third, starve the part of your brain that craves new things. When you feel that itch to quit because a project got boring, recognize it for what it is. That is the barrier separating ordinary people from successful ones. Sit with that uncomfortable boring feeling. Commit to a boring period. Tell yourself you are not allowed to start any new course, book, or project until you finish the one in front of you. Train your brain to value finishing over starting. Intelligence is a gift, but it is also a burden. It comes with the weight of knowing you could be so much more. The world is full of brilliant people waiting to be discovered, waiting for the perfect moment. But the world does not reward waiting. It rewards movement. It rewards action. Your intelligence is not a trophy to protect in a glass case. It is a tool meant to get dirty and build something real. The only way to truly waste your potential is to never use it. So stop thinking. Stop planning every detail. Do something brave. Do something imperfect. Drop one word in the comments about what you are finally going to start. Hit like so this reminder does not slip away. Send this to someone who has been stuck in their own head for too long. If you want more of this kind of reset in your feed, stay with this channel. Now go build something.